All right, we are back, just enough to suffer. We're here for Patriots Week, and we have a very special guest joining us. Bree Pierce here with us, very good friend of Greg's. He spoke very highly of her. I found out she was a Patriots fan. I didn't know that until we were getting ready to do this, so I was like, that's kind of a weird move. But Greg's a sneaky closet Patriots fan.
That's
We'll
not
get into
true.
that.
That's not
Exactly.
true.
He's
Exactly.
a very big closet Patriots fan.
Do I need to
Bree,
pull up the text of Breece saying that she's big on the New York teams? Because I haven't.
When did I say that?
Oh, I'll go and find it. You two just continue. I'll go and find it.
all right, well, you look for that. Bree, why don't you introduce yourself to the people a little bit, and then we'll get into the very interesting game we have ahead of us.
Yeah, a lot going on this week. Hello everybody. I am Brianna Peer. I go by Bree or BSP. If you have seen me anywhere on social media, I am a content creator for FanDuel as well as a co-host of a show called Unsportsmanlike Conduct. My co-host actually was on this show a couple weeks ago. And it's all over, the FanDuel channels. And if you missed yesterday's show, I yelled a lot, but you probably are going to get a good portion of that anger towards my football team on this. So you didn't really miss much because I'm just going to sit here and repeat myself. So
Great. I'm ready to get into it for sure. Greg, do you have these pictures yet?
Just keep going. I'm looking.
Okay,
up.
we'll keep going.
It's
So
in here. I'll find it.
if you told me 3 months ago, well, actually that's not true because I have a bet on the Patriots finishing last in the division. But if you told everybody like a month and a half ago that the Jets would be at 5-2 and the Patriots would be at, I don't even know what their record is right now.
3-4.
Bad.
3-4. Yeah, it's just not good for the Patriots right now. And I'm gonna try to be very, very nice today because I'm in a good mood. Astros World Series is coming up. I'm excited about the Jets. What is wrong with the Patriots?
Oh boy. Okay, what is wrong with the Patriots?
What is the number one thing you see that is wrong with the Patriots right now?
First and foremost, I think, and I've never really been a big Mac Jones person.
Okay.
So I feel like I'm a hater when I say stuff like this, but I'm trying to be like as impartial as possible when I say things like this. The biggest problem right now is the turnovers when Mac Jones plays. I feel like, and I've said this before and I've kind of gotten yelled at for it, but I don't necessarily think it's as crazy as people make me feel like it is. He seems from last year to now uncomfortable in the pocket. He just looks, just based on the eye test alone, he looks like he's psyching himself out and freaking out, not taking the time to actually go through his progressions to see what's going on, because he's missed a bunch of open guys. A lot of the interceptions he has had are just bad decisions. Now, I'll give him the credit where it's due. Some of them are not his fault, tip balls and whatever, but the majority of them are. And I don't know if this is just like a sophomore slump kind of thing, or if the play calling is the problem, because the play calling with Bailey Zappi seems to be a little bit different. And I don't know if that's because they try to just make it super simple for him or what, but like they've gone away from, I feel like, everything that they do with Mac whenever Zappi is in the game. So like it's just like a culmination of all those things. The defense, aside from Monday night, which I don't know what the hell that was, but the defense has been probably the bright spot of this team so far. Even in the losses, I mean, you look at the Ravens game, they, all things considered, kind of controlled Lamar Jackson, which I didn't expect. And it's not easy to do. So I say controlled, relative, but they could have won that game if they limited the turnovers. If that interception in the end zone in that game, not a great decision, not the best read. Like, it's just things like that where this team is 3-4 right now. They could easily have the same record as you guys. And I feel like it's just stupid, mechanical things like that, disciplinary things like that. It's just so frustrating.
Speaking as a guy who's been watching pretty bad quarterback play for a pretty decent amount of time here, I can very much feel your pain. How much of it do you think is due to the change in offensive coordinator? Like, has the philosophy shifted that much? I still don't fully understand the defensive coordinator thing. It's like a meme at this point, but I just don't like what's changed for him outside of. Wasn't the back half of the season for him last year like kind of questionable also? So like it kind of started
after the bye. That team just kind of just unraveled.
Yeah, so like I wonder how much of the Mac Jones stuff was just early on. They kept it very simple for him, and he was having success, and it was a change of pace and all that stuff for the team. And then once they opened up the playbook to him, it kind of all has fallen apart. And also coming into this year, I don't know. Again, I don't know what's real and what's not. I kind of just see bad Patriots stories and laugh a little bit. But like, this whole thing with Zappy, when they bring in Zappy, it seemed like the team's more energized and they're more excited to make plays. And then there was that story about how Mac's not well liked, but that story was fake supposedly. Like, what is happening with all? It's very strange to me, and I can't say I'm upset about it.
Isn't it?
Yeah,
the Ben Volin case.
Yeah, whatever that story was.
If you see anything from Ben Volin, just like completely, just
that guy's
it.
Just a liar.
He has a nickname called Trollin' Volin. Like that's
interesting. Okay, good to know.
So, take it with a grain of salt.
Okay.
He had other reporters completely just like dunking on him all last week for that ego story that he came up with because he got a tip from a fan who pretended to know somebody in the building working in ticket sales of all things. Like they would have any inside information on this football team.
So it was 100% fake.
Totally fabricated. And he ran with it. He got duped so bad.
Wow.
That's something that when you brought up the Zappy thing, like you noticed that Monday night when he came in that second
more crisp
quarter,
and they were finishing their routes differently. Like it all looked much better.
It did. And I think that is a product of the fact that the offense gets simplified for him and it's easier for everybody else to just go out there and play football and do not to sound like a Patriots homer, but to do their job. Like that's all you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still not totally sold on the Matt Patricia project at offensive coordinator. It's not, it still doesn't make sense to me. But I mean, I'm never going to sit here and look at Bill Belichick and say, hey, idiot, what the hell are you doing? But this
is it time.
I'm still a little unsure about this one.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I feel like if they just take the same offense that they have for Zappy and they just let Mac do that, it's going to be similar to what he did at the beginning of last year before their bye week, where they were a good football team. Like they actually were good because the defense is basically the same. I don't know. Like I've never experienced a year where I have no answers or no thoughts of what could possibly be the problem and the solution like this. I genuinely don't know what's going on.
Sucks, doesn't it? Sucks.
This must be what you guys felt like for all those years. Like this is horrible.
We're still kind of there on the offensive side a little bit, but we won't talk about that until Greg's ready.
Yeah. All right. Relax. Let's reel it in. No, I think the thing with Mac was like beginning of last year, it felt like all he needed to do was make one or two big throws in a game, and he ended up completing them. Like the Tampa Bay game, he had a couple big throws. The Dallas game, he had a couple big throws. And then it felt like towards the back half of last year, they would get down in games and they would continue to try to run the ball and they still wouldn't open it up for him. And then it felt like it was, it was one of those like swing drives where like they're down 2 scores. They could either go down and score and make it a game or, the game's over. And then they're like, hey, Mac, get in there, go make a couple throws.
Right.
And now it just seems like I think they're trying to open it up a little bit more, and it's just not. It's very clear that he's just not the guy.
It's a shame.
It sucks. Who's there to be afraid of on the Patriots offense is what I want.
So that was kind of what I wanted to get to. I wanted to get to like a positive headspace for you. Like, what are you feeling good about right now? Does it feel good to have the dirtiest defensive player in what's his name? What's the defensive end's name?
True.
And then the dirtiest offensive player, Mac Judon.
Yeah, Mac Jones.
And Mac Jones too.
Mac Jones, that little that cleat spike was a little.
That wasn't the first time though, Breece.
No. Like I said, I'm not big on this kid, so I can straight up admit, last year I defended him a little bit with the Brian Burns thing, but like it seems like there's a little bit of a pattern here.
Yeah, that's definitely his thing.
Not necessarily sure I like it. But I mean, Brady used to do it. Brady got Ed Reed once, real good.
I wish he would try that with Michael Clemens this weekend.
Oof.
I wish.
Yes. Well, that's
if he tried to do the same thing to Michael Clemens he did to Brian Burns, Michael Clemens would just walk away with Mac Jones's arms like hanging from his ankles.
Honestly, like he might need a smack in the face from somebody just to.
He might get it this weekend because
get that head back on straight.
The Jets defense has been flying around and hitting very, very hard, and I think. I don't know if this has been talked about in Patriots land yet because it's still early in the week coming off the Monday night game, but I think, Greg, a big talking point for Jets fans and like on Jets, the internet space and the beat writers have been talking about the blowout last year when they kind of ran it up. And I think that's
very clearly ran it up.
Very clearly ran it up. And I think that's a big talking point. I heard Saleh mention it, I think, in his press conference today. It's been circulating online. Yeah. So I think it's a big part of the bulletin board this week. So one part of me wants to go back to classic Jets where it's like, this is the week that Bill Belichick figures it out. And they just go back to the simplified offense with Mac and they light us up and they figure it out. The other part of me is like, oh, the Jets are actually good this year. And I think we might destroy the Patriots. So I'm trying to figure that out.
Interesting. I didn't know that they were harboring that much
big time
resentment for that game.
Fans are thinking about it for sure. And I'm almost positive I heard Saleh say it. Talk about
that's quite literally like it's
Greg, was that the game that you and I were at the same game? Or is it the game at Gillette?
It was the game at Gillette.
Yeah, at Gillette. They ran it up big time. It was very
like 54-10.
Oh, yes. Okay, that's right. I was like, why can't I remember this? Okay.
Yeah, I think it was one of those. 40. Belichick was like, hey, welcome to the AFC East. Like, I'm the king. Mm-hmm. It was one of those. And the Jets are a lot different this year than they were a year ago. And I think Saleh's going to use that.
So, okay. So now I have a question for you guys because I am sitting here and we talked about this on my show yesterday about the New York teams and the legitimacy of you guys and the Giants. And I'll be completely honest, I feel a little bit more confident about the Giants than I do the Jets. Do you guys are you guys concerned, especially with the Breece Hall injury, that it's going to kind of come back down to earth a little bit? Or do you think the trade is gonna not make it like it never happened or anything like that, but like still be serviceable?
I'll let Greg answer that first because I'm pretty sure we have different answers.
Yeah, well, I mean, Lou hates Zach Wilson. He's hated Zach Wilson since the day he knew about him, the day he learned his name.
Can't really blame.
The defense is legit, and I pointed it out. I think week one, I texted our group chat that like this team there was something very different in the stadium, and you could just tell that like this wasn't one of those one-off Jets games where they play good defense and then they just end up getting blown out. Which there's a couple big shot plays in that game, but this defense is legit. Like you can't throw on the outside.
Okay,
the linebackers are playing pretty well.
Is the defense legit though because they're actually legit, or because
legit?
No, they're legit.
Competition has not been great aside from that Cincinnati game.
The two guys on the outside are legit. DJ and Sauce are very legit, and the pass rush is serious. So I think it's a legit defense.
Okay.
Yeah, it seemed like the first couple of games was just everyone kind of gelling and figuring out what they need to do on defense, and because we talked about it, it was big communication issues on the defense. It was tackling and miscommunications, and I mean, the tackling, I haven't really noticed anything jarring in the past couple of weeks, but the communication stuff, I don't think I've seen a broken down play in the last 4 or 5 weeks. So it seems like they cleaned that up. But yeah, the pass rush is huge. I mean, offensive wise, like the whole thing is centered around Zach. And the big debate now, which is fucking mind boggling because we're 5-2 right now on a 4-game winning streak. And all anyone can talk about is negatively about Zach, which I get it, right? Like his last Sunday was probably, the 400-reception game against the Patriots probably is worse, but like the worst looking one outside of that was, I think, in Denver this week, where he got pressured a ton and he made a lot of play. He made a lot of plays to escape pressures, which I think in the last year we didn't see that. It was he's going to do something like that and then throw a boneheaded interception, and now he's just evading it. And instead of taking negative yards, it's just a loss of a down, and he's getting it out.
Yeah, it's just a 15-yard loss instead.
Well, if you listen to what I just said, is that he's throwing incomplete passes, and then we live to see another down.
Definitely
But
does that.
No, the thing that concerns me the most is when he did have time on a couple of throws, and they were just not good throws.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit concerning. But I mean, he looked good against Pittsburgh in the second half. He made the throws he needed to against Miami. So it's kind of just like, all right, like what Zach are we going to get? And I don't think obviously James Robinson doesn't solve the Breece Hall issue. Like it's weird to say that he's kind of an irreplaceable player. 6 games in his career.
He's irreplaceable on my fantasy team. I was devastated when I dropped him today. Devastated.
I just traded for him 2 weeks ago. I was so sad.
Oh, no.
But he kind of, if you can get 60 to 65% of that production out of James Robinson and you still have Michael Carter, like that's an encouraging sign. The offense is built to run. But, I mean, this is probably going to be the first game where it's going to fall like 90% on Zach's shoulders. So this will be a big test. And, I mean, against the Belichick defense, like no matter who's the personnel, like it's still a tough defense.
It depends on what defense you get because it was not a tough defense Monday night. They let Chicago just basically do whatever they want.
Fields looked incredible. That was Justin Fields' best game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason I was going to say I'm a little bit different from Greg is I agree that the defense is good enough that they will carry us to being in just about every game the rest of the year. The only game I have like a real question about us defensively, the 2 games are the Bills games. Other than that, I don't think we're playing anyone that outstanding that we haven't faced already from like a receiver standpoint. Quarterback play is come and go, but we'll see about that. The offensive side is going to come down to Zach no matter what. I think Greg thinks it's unreasonable. I think focusing on it is ridiculous, but to say that it's not a very big piece of the puzzle going forward for the rest of the year is kind of crazy. Like we entered this season thinking, all right, we're going to win 6 to 7 games, 8 if we could stretch it. Now, if we don't win 8 games, I think it's like borderline a disappointment the rest of the way.
Yeah, I agree.
So if that's the case, then you need to be very serious about how you approach the quarterback position. Last year, I think they were trying to hide him a little bit at the end, and I think they're going back to that again, which is not good for the development of the quarterback. It's good for the short-term wins. I personally am of the opinion if they don't trust him now, they're not going to trust him a year from now either, so you might as well move on. So I think in a week or 2, I'll have my answer in terms of do they actually trust him or not, and then I'll know how I feel.
Interesting.
Yeah, because I don't think it's that great.
Hey, I mean, similar boats here because I'm starting to feel the same way. The way that it seems like the Patriots fan base has split from wanting your first round pick quarterback to be the starting quarterback of the future and now wanting a 3rd rounder out of freaking Western Kentucky to come in and take over. Like I texted in our group chat that Greg and I are in the other day. It's like civil war with the Patriots fan base right now.
I'm sure.
I can't, maybe during like the Cam Newton, Jarrett Stidham, and this, I mean, I can't, this is horrible. This is both things I'm saying. It's absolutely disgusting, but this happened in 2020 with Cam and Stidham, and people thought Stidham was the future, and then they signed, and it's just like.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of the typical QB carousel that happens in the NFL when you don't have like an actual franchise quarterback. And also you guys are coming off of 20 straight years of having top 3 to 5 quarterback play every single season. So it's really tough when you're like, wait, we had Tom Brady and now it's Bailey Zappi or Mac Jones. Like that's tough.
What a dick that guy is, huh? For leaving. We have to deal with this shit now because you wanted to leave.
Is it kind of cool that he's falling apart as a Patriots fan or no?
I still love him to death. I'm not somebody that like jumped ship, but I am so angry at him in every capacity right now. Like I said yesterday, he went out and said in a press conference a couple weeks ago that there's so much bad football being played. You're not doing any better, pal.
Yeah.
You're not doing any better. So maybe focus on yourself just for a second.
Yeah.
And maybe save your marriage, but
I think that one's long gone. That seems like it's long gone.
Supposedly, she gave him one last ultimatum and said, either we're done for good, or you stop playing football because her reasoning is that she's worried about his health and that if he continues to play in the way the league is going, he's not going to enjoy his life after football because he's just going to be a shell of himself, which I understand, but I don't think
she also married a quarterback. So I
don't think that that's actually why.
Yeah.
So that she like definitely like put some kind of curse on him or something because she's into all that like witchy.
You saw these witch TikToks too, right? I've seen them. It's crazy.
Oh yeah.
You know what is interesting about the Brady thing? It's like he retired at the end of last season, and then it was very like it seems now it's come out that it was very obvious he wanted to go to like Miami, San Francisco, Vegas was I think out there too. So where is the confusion here? Like, did they just not communicate? This is now just a gossip podcast, but that's fine. Like, I don't understand how that whole thing went down.
I think the biggest thing was when the Miami thing got blown up, then he was like, all right, I'm done. Yeah. And he told her that, and she was like, okay, you're done. And and this is just my personal opinion. I don't know anything, but I think he made the decision to come back and didn't consult her about it.
That's what it seems like. Yeah.
I think it was a him and Alex Guerrero thing. And then that's when he went to Tampa and was like, okay, I will come back. Bruce Arians has got to go.
Right.
And
now he's stuck with Todd Bowles.
And now he's got Todd Bowles, and Byron Leftwich is sitting here laughing in press conferences and stuff. Like but he did it all to himself. Everything bad that's happening to him right now is all self-inflicted.
Some would call it karma.
I love the guy more than anything. He, in my eyes, is like the second coming of Jesus. I have never ever looked at him and said, well, that's what you get, you dickhead, as much as I am right now.
Yeah. He had a fight with the head coach and decided to leave Bill Belichick and permanently ruined both of them, which I'm not upset about.
No, I know you guys aren't upset about
All right, so just to close it out, you're feeling really worried about the offense. You're not worried about the defense? Or you are worried about the defense? Are you just thinking that you're playing Zach Wilson, so everything's fine now? Or that's how I would feel, maybe?
A little bit. No, I'm not necessarily worried about the offense because I feel like the run game is strong. I mean, with Damian Harris, now he's got the health is still a factor with him because Ramondre took like 90% of the snaps the other night. But I still think as a 1-2 punch, they're pretty good. Mm-hmm. And the receivers and the tight ends that play with Zappy are good. If they can just mesh that all together and translate that to Mac Jones, I feel like this will be fine. I don't know why this seems like such a hard concept for them, but I feel like it's pretty simple to do. Now let's just freaking do it.
Just run the touchdown play, you know?
That's it. That's all you got to do.
Pretty straightforward.
And then the defense, though, this just feels to me like a one-off thing. Like, I can't imagine them being that bad again. Just bad. And I don't know. And I think the Zach Wilson thing helps.
Yeah, and we have a very bad offensive line, so I'm very worried about Judon and our offensive line.
Okay, that makes me feel a little bit better.
I mean, I can see it playing out in the way that the Jets wanted to, and it's like we talked about last week, like drag it out to the fourth quarter and then just we'll see what happens, because that's kind of the makeup of this Jets team. It's more so with Breece Hall because they can execute on it, and I mean the Packers game, they had like a 7-minute drive to ice it. Just all runs. So, I mean, that's kind of been their MO is, all right, like we'll figure it out through 3 quarters. And then the fourth quarter, like have fun playing with us. So
take him to the deep water, Greg.
That's it. So I don't know, man.
I don't know.
I'm also just not worried about the Patriots, like anyone on their offense.
That's kind of how I feel about you guys.
Andrews out?
Andrews is most likely going to be out. He took a freaking shot. So I would not be surprised if he misses 2 to 3 weeks at this point because he was like in La La Land. Not good.
Yeah. And then what's going on with Trent Brown? Because I mean, he looked.
I mean,
I thought he was good, and then I see Patriots fans being like,
he's had a pretty good season. Monday night was just
mainly your dad.
Yeah. Well.
Just.
I sometimes during games have to mute him.
We can do a full show just on this game day.
Oh, is Bree's dad like my dad?
It's yes. That is everything is like everything's misspelled. It's just total reactionary in the moment, and it's hilarious every time.
So funny. A lot of F-bombs.
If you and I were to tweet it, it wouldn't be funny. But like your dad and her dad doing it, it's fucking hysterical.
That's so fucking funny.
Yeah,
at least somebody else knows what it's like.
Please. I am very aware. I've had this idea of having like basically just two old guys. In my vision, it's like two sports talk radio callers just talking to each other for an hour, and they have to disagree on the topic, and they just go back and forth. Is my idea, and that's all I have on it so far.
And every minute just keeps going, gets like more and more outlandish.
Yeah,
get further from like the actual point.
I would love to do one. I don't know, Greg, if you have anything else. I would like to have, while I have an ally here, get into Greg's Patriot fandom. If that would be okay with you.
No, it's not. It's not a fandom.
Greg.
Bree, how often does Greg text you about Julian Edelman and Bill Belichick?
I love Julian Edelman.
He's got the books. He's got everything. He always says how much he loves Julius. He'll send.
Love him.
This isn't related to Julian Edelman, but you know how on iMessage you can make a group chat, like have a photo?
Yes.
Ours is Danny Amendola.
Okay, you put that as a thing, because when he hit,
nobody's changed it. It's been there for over a year. Nobody's changed it.
Continuity.
No,
continuity.
That's really bad. Has he ever
that.
texted you like, "Hey, congrats on the Pats win," or like, has he been like locked into the Patriots with you? I'm not asking you. I'm talking to Bree.
I mean, there have been times where he's texted and it's about the Patriots, and there are some nice things that have been said.
It's interesting. Greg likes to talk a big game, how he doesn't really like the Patriots, but
I'll
text him in like April and he'll be like, yeah, I'm rewatching Patriots Rams from 2003 for fun.
It's just the excuse is like the Julian Edelman highlights and stuff because he's just an Edelman fan. But like you dig a little bit deeper there and like the underlying theme.
What's the underlying theme?
It's the Patriots, man.
Patriots
you like the Patriots. It's fine.
I like Bill Belichick. He's a savant at football.
I like Bill Belichick. I like Julian Edelman. I like Tom Brady.
Sorry, a football fan likes fucking reading about Bill Belichick.
Yeah,
I'm not out there reading about fucking
Doug
Eberflus on a daily basis.
I know for a fact I've got screenshots.
Whatever the fuck his name is.
Somewhere.
All right, well, if we could use those screenshots for the cover of this episode, that would be ideal.
Yeah. I'll find. I've got some stuff.
Fantastic.
That is a lie.
Bree, I appreciate you. I appreciate you joining us. What we like to do is get a score prediction.
Oh, I'm so bad at these. So I think
Gab was very sure the Browns were going to win, and they didn't win.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm never really sure right now when it comes to. I mean, I was positive that the Patriots are going to blow out the Bears the other night, and look what happened. So, but I do genuinely think that this is a game that they get back to normal. They get back and they figure it out.
The get right game.
Because they have to. They can't go 0-2 in the division. This is as must win as it could probably get.
You're throwing a must-win tag on the Jet game.
The only reason is because they're already 0-1. If you go 0-2 in the division and you're going to try to make the playoffs, you are swimming up Schitt's Creek without a paddle.
Yep.
So,
you're still thinking playoffs?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Wow.
I sure am. I have them. I predicted them to go 10-7. So I know the back half of the schedule is hard. But I was right last year. I said 10-7 last year, and I was right last year, and nobody thought that they were going to do that either. So shameless plug, but I said it.
You did.
I'm gonna say like 27-24.
27-24
like close game
Patriots?
Comes down to a field goal. Yeah, Pats win.
Okay. All right.
You threw a must-win tag on it.
Wow. Do we want to do our predictions now? We'll do them later, Greg, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm predicting a Jets victory. I think Greg is as well.
Yeah. Not surprised.
Okay.
I said they were going to lose a couple games early on.
You did. You started pretty slow, but now it's Patriots week and you're back on the Jets. So good for you.
Back on the Jets.
All right.
I don't know.
Bree, thank you so much for joining us. Please check out Bree on FanDuel. Please check out on Sportsmanlike Conduct. She's great. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you guys. Greg, we'll have a
What?
chat later in the week about this
what?
game. Just about the game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we'd
All
love to
right.
see how those texts go.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bree.
Oh, good.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Go ahead, Greg. Coming off of a great win on Sunday against the Broncos, a tested win, battle-tested this team is now, but with 2 big injuries. They've addressed – we actually were just doing a pre-production meeting saying we have what we're going to talk about. I didn't even talk about James Robinson. That just happened 2 days ago. Pretty big deal, replacing Breece Hall, so we'll get into that as well. But the first thing I want to talk about is Jay's experience in Denver. I know he was out there in real time. So, Jay, how was it? How were the vibes after the game? Because in Green Bay, the stadium pretty much got taken over by Jets fans. So I'm hoping it was the same in Denver.
Yeah, it was the same. Before the game, tailgate was unbelievable. I mean, we had just a huge conglomerate of Jet fans that just kind of took over this one parking lot. And, the expectations were high. I mean, we rolled in there against a backup quarterback, really a third string quarterback. Brett Rippon, that guy is just awful. That guy stinks. But still, Denver's a house of horrors. It's we talked about this last week. You can never overlook a game in the NFL, especially when you're a Jets fan. You can't, go chalking up W's. And I mean, that game had me nervous from start to finish.
The nail biter.
It was a nail biter, to say the least. Even when we picked off that pass, we thought they were off the field and the game was over. And then all of a sudden, the defense had to go back to the field for one more Hail Mary. And, that place is loud. Credit to the Denver fans. They were very nice, very hospitable, didn't have any problems. There were a lot of Jet fans behind the bench, just like, the really cool thing about the Jets fans, we get a lot of shit, but like, we travel, we're an elite traveling fan base. We travel and, we took over that stadium in the fourth quarter. There were defense chants. There were Jets chants. We had DJ Reed was leading Jets chants after the game. Sauce, everybody was getting love from just everybody kind of, how it works at the end of a game after you win when everybody pours down on the Jets side, especially as like the last couple of minutes. So Denver fans were leaving. They left with 5 minutes left in the game. We stopped them, and then we gave the ball back to them one last time to drive down the field. But there weren't a lot of Denver fans in the building for that. But it was hot. It was 78 degrees out there. The sun was beating down on the visitor side. So
maybe that's why Zach was overthrowing everything.
True. But after the game, it was great. I mean, fans were doing Jets chants on the way out. I mean, the whole way back. But even Denver, I was wearing my Jets stuff the whole weekend, and even Denver fans were coming up to us and saying that we're a cool fan base and we deserve, I got that for a lot of times. We respect you guys as fans. You stick with the team. You guys are a cool fan base. We like that you guys do the chant and all that stuff. Good. So we got a lot of love from Denver fans. It was cool. It's a little different vibe than some of the away games that I've been to with, obviously you go to a Miami game or a Buffalo game or something. And there's no rivalry there with the Broncos really, but it was cool.
How was the airport?
That airport sucks.
Did you see any freaky shit there? The Freemasons?
That airport was you had to take a train to get to you land, and then you can't just walk out. You have to take a train to the exit, and there's just there.
It's also haunted.
Did you see the New World Order painting mural?
No.
Oh yeah, that's a big thing in the Denver airport.
I don't know anything about that.
I think they
don't know anything about the Denver airport.
Jay has very weird interests. So and one of them is not random conspiracy online theories like me and Greg. It makes sense that they were happy because they live a happy life. They don't live here. They live in the open air in Denver, Colorado, and they get to enjoy their life. Unfortunately for them, they have Russell Wilson who was doing his little up downs on the plane or whatever. Did you hear about that story? High knees on the plane.
God,
psycho,
man.
Did you see his teammates clowning him for it after, on Twitter? Just
were they?
KJ Hamler and all them have just been smoking him
KJ Hamler clearly hates him. By the way, if you were watching that game, and if you've watched the Broncos at all this season, he just looks like he hates Russell Wilson, which is, I guess, I don't know, man. It's just a weird situation out there. They're talking about trading Jerry Jeudy. Where is that coming from?
Hamler, I think, just wants to get out of there because there was a play. it was when they were driving to the right on the TV screen where like the ball was like overthrown or something and like bounced, and Handler just fucking like punched it into the third row.
Yeah, that's he does that all the time. I feel like whenever I watch them, he's like freaking out about something.
Well,
anyway,
if you never won with Russell Wilson and he just showed up and you got this year's version of Russell Wilson, that'd be tough to take, I think. I mean, he looks so washed and he's so weird. Like, he's just a strange dude. I don't know.
Yeah, he's an interesting cat for sure. Anyway, coming out of that game, we had probably it's just another thing because it just feels like there's been a lot of things that have happened this year, and the Jets have had a way of bouncing back from those things. But coming out of that game, we lose Breece Hall for the season. You already know about that. We lose AVT for the season. You already know about that too. And what does this GM do? He instantly responds and sends a message that we're trying to compete this year. I think, Sunday afternoon, Greg and I were both in a pretty dark place with Breece. It's like, all right, Breece is out for the year. What are we going to do? Can we trade for somebody? Are we just going to ride it out? Because in reality, like we've been saying this whole time, this team is ahead of schedule right now. They should not be a team that should be competing or in the mix for a playoff spot at all. But Joe Douglas responded and immediately went and got a very good running back. James Robinson is an extremely good running back. He got basically sent to the bench in Jacksonville because they want to move on to ETN, which is understandable, I guess, on their end. But he seemed pretty upset about it and pretty motivated to get better in his talk today to the media. So, Greg, what do you think about the Robinson trade and kind of the message it sends to the team?
Yeah, I think more importantly, the message is, we're not calling a guy up from the practice squad just to get another warm body in there running back. They're like, no, we're going to make a move for a pretty good running back who just kind of got lost in the fold in Jacksonville. And, I know a lot of people have mentioned it online, but that truly does show like, hey, we're here. Like, we're not taking this as like, happy-go-lucky, we're 5-2 kind of a way. They're like, no, we are in the thick of it for the playoff race. We have a legit chance. We think this team currently constructed is good enough to make the playoffs, and we're going to make an addition and a guy like James Robinson to further get to that point, which, I mean, I think we go back, we fall back on this, kind of crutch of just like we haven't experienced this, but like it is so refreshing to see, a GM proactive. I mean, what was it? Less than 24 hours after the injury happens, they get a guy in there for a 6th-round pick. Like, that is huge. That's not like, oh, we'll wait to see if a guy comes off, goes through waivers, shit like that. It's, hey, we need a guy, get him in here, let's go. We got a big division game coming up.
They could have very quickly waited a day and a half and then just got Tevin Coleman off of the 49ers waivers very quickly. Could have been just as easy as that, but he decided to take over James Robinson, who's a real piece. Like I said before, like he's a really good player.
Yeah.
He's a really talented guy, really young still. I think is he under contract through next year? It's like restricted free agency or something. I don't totally understand it, but
I think he's got one more year left.
Yeah, he's got like we have a future with him now, and it's what are you going to do better with a 6th round that's probably going to become a 5th round pick? I think it ends up becoming the Blake Cashman pick.
Sick.
Yeah, so that's all day for sure. So that was great. Unfortunately, you lose AVT for the season, who's been
that one hurts.
Easily the bright spot on the offensive side of the ball. Nothing special and sexy about an offensive lineman for sure, but a guy who's played multiple positions, has done whatever was asked from him since day one. No complaints, came in and played well every single week. So that's going to be tough. I think we got a couple guys coming back off IR soon. I think Max Mitchell will be back in a few weeks. They have these 2 guys they brought in a couple of weeks ago who they're excited about, and they're going to want to work in, I'm sure. So hopefully we can patchwork that thing back together again like we've been doing all year.
Yeah, I just saw Remmers got signed to the Dolphins practice squad, so he's out. But yeah, I mean, this is one of those things where this is a true test of a playoff team, right? Like,
no excuses.
Exactly. Every good team has injuries throughout the year, right? And it's all, I mean, we see the teams that advance far in the playoffs typically have good injury luck. But this is one of those things, like, you want to be a good team, you want to make the playoffs. You can't do it when everything is perfect and all the players, like, injuries are going to happen. It's football. It's a violent sport. Shit happens every year to every single team. Figure it out.
The Ravens are depleted every single season.
Every single year.
Yeah. Chargers are super hurt this year. Like, there's a lot of teams that are really hurt this year.
It's hurt every year. The Chargers are hurt every year.
Yeah, they really are. It's crazy.
But like, yeah, I mean, prime example of like the Ravens team last year. Like, they didn't lose everybody in training camp. Lamar gets hurt midway through the season, and they're still fighting for a playoff spot in week 17, 18, whatever it is now. But I mean, even in San Francisco, if you want to take it back there, when everyone was with them, like when they got in 2020, when everyone was hurt, like, I don't know if the record really showed it, but they still look like a competent football team week to week. And that's, I mean, we don't have to get into it. I think that's more of a Shanahan thing, but still, like, you see teams like that, like, okay, like, it's, can you play the system? Yes or no? Cool. Get in here.
Yeah. I think it's a really interesting spot for us to be in, where I now feel like we've sustained these injuries and powered through them, to where, of course, I don't expect the offensive line to be at the same level it's been in the last few weeks. Zach's gonna have a little bit more work to do with the loss of Breece and the loss of the offensive line, but quite frankly, like, my expectation is that they find a way through it, because they found a way through all the other things so far this year.
Yeah, I mean, this, as weird as it sounds to take like a 30,000 foot view of it, I think this will be good for the players on the team moving forward, since they're such a young team, right? Like, you battle through an adversity type season where people are getting hurt. You lose Mekhi first week of training camp. Dwayne Brown's out for 4 games. You have the whole Elijah situation. I mean, the list goes on and on and on, and they're still 5-2. And I think that's huge. It's like a building block, and we'll see how they respond, the rest of the year. But we're going to see what this team is truly made of now. And that's a pretty – it's exciting in a lot of ways. It's also kind of terrifying, because like, we're such on a high right now of 5-2, and it's like this could all come crashing down. But it's also exciting to be like, okay, like, this is the first time they've been in a situation like this, since I can remember. Let's see what this team's made of. Let's see what this coaching staff's made of. Like, we've talked about it every single week. This team clearly believes in Saleh, and they believe in the coaching staff. Like,
That's clear.
That, like, shit like that, I think, plays into what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And like, from the top down too, right? Like we were just talking about earlier, like, the GM shows you that, hey, we're committed. We think you guys can do it. We're going to go make a move. Obviously, they all believe in Saleh, and the players, they all love playing together. So, I mean, and they're into a big stretch, right? Like, they got New England this week, then they play Buffalo, bye, and then New England. They got 3 straight division games. This is, I don't want to say make or break for a year, but 3 division games is huge when it comes to seeding and getting in the playoffs.
Absolutely. And next thing I wanted to talk through a little bit, the big story of the week, I would say, is still a big story and is going to be a big story for the next few weeks, is the disappearance and now reappearance of Elijah Moore with the New York Jets. He has yet to speak to the media since returning. We don't need to rehash what happened last week. I think anyone listening now has heard this story 100 times, what happened with Eli, but
what if there's someone who's just been off the grid listening to
exclusively listening to this
Moore?
show first? Yeah, they're like, wait,
what happened? What do you mean?
That's funny.
Can't wait to listen to my favorite Jets podcast. Talk about Patriots week. Wait, Elijah Moore?
It's interesting because it seems like it's okay. Like, I don't know what to say. I thought that it was going to be a lot worse. I thought that maybe he wouldn't come back this week. I thought that if he did come back, it would be a lot more icy. Obviously, I think, those are very carefully placed cameras when you see him dapping up at a mic and you see him working with Brax and all that stuff. Those are, that is what it is. But it seems like, based on what Saleh said today to the media, that he's back. He's part of the family. They're going to work with them. They're going to find a way to get him more involved. They want to make it work. And that's all I really care about. I understand that if he still wants to move on, that's his prerogative, but like, you still have to work through it in a way that doesn't completely derail everything we're trying to do here.
Yeah. And I have my ears perked up just a little bit, and maybe it's just a one-day thing, but it's like one of those things where, they're talking like too nicely about him. And it's like,
yes, and
you know
no.
what I mean? Like, a little bit, like all the cameras, like you said, perfectly placed cameras. Obviously, that's the biggest story outside of the injuries this week, is him coming back. But if it's going to be like this for the next 2 or 3 days, where there's like over the top and praising Alijah, then it's going to get like, all right, like, there's definitely something up if that happens. But hopefully it's just one of those where, like, all right, we're happy he's back. We can put all this behind us. We're going to go into the week. We're going to have, one of our better receivers on the team with, we don't know how Corey Davis, if he's going to play or not on Sunday. So having a guy like Alijah out there is going to be huge, because you cannot be rolling out there with Garrett Wilson, Denzel Mims, and Jeff Smith and, hope to win a football game.
I mean, I've been saying all along about Alijah is that I had a feeling that things were going to get smoothed over because at the end of the day, fact is, fair or unfair, he has zero leverage. Zero. He can't do anything. His best move as a professional for his career, for his money, for his life is to figure out a way to make it work. Even if he wants to leave at the end of this contract, he's locked into the Jets for another 2.5 years minimum. So, like, what's his plan? Like, he can cry and want to get traded, or he can just go out there, work, and try to, make the best of the situation. And he'll make himself much more valuable in his next contract if he does, if he goes that route rather than trying to, complain his way out of town. The Jets don't have to trade him. He doesn't make any real money. It's not like there's any reason that the Jets have to go out and like you said, Lou, I think you said this somewhere on Twitter, like, what's the value on a guy who really hasn't proven much at all in the pros and now is already complaining, about his contract situation? What are you going to get for him? A 6th round pick, 7th? You're not going to get anything for him. Then there's no reason to trade him unless some team like the Packers decides they're going to blow the Jets away. The only way I can see that
the Jamal Adams offer.
Yeah, not that, but like if let's say they offered him a 2nd round pick, Jets a 2nd round pick, you might consider that. A 1st round pick, he's gone. But that's not going to happen. Why would they offer that?
Yeah, well, that's why I said this. That's why I said the Jamal Adams trade, because it makes no sense. They could offer 2 first-round picks for a safety who's just okay, and that one panned out for us. But that's what I mean. So, like, unless they get blown out of the building, there's no way they're going to accept an offer. And to your point, like, I'm the biggest Elijah Moore guy around. I've spent a lot of money on Elijah Moore cards. I spent a lot of time talking about Elijah Moore and building up Elijah Moore in my own mind and in the minds of people I talk to about him as a player. He hasn't had the success that he is acting like he has had. Right. Mm-hmm. And I say that with all due respect. I know there's a lot that goes into that. He can only run the routes. He can't get the ball thrown to him. When he gets the ball thrown to him, he can catch it. But from what I read, I'm not going to pretend to be an all 22 guy, but like his separation hasn't really been there. It's not like he's getting no targets until the Packers game, which was just a game plan thing. He was getting his 4 to 8 targets a game. Like, I don't know how much more you want. Like, you're not DK Metcalf. You're not AJ Brown. You are not going to get what?
Right. No, and that's the thing too, right? Like, forever how talented we think he is, like the production, just like when it all comes down to it, these trades and these contracts are all on production. Doesn't matter what the team's doing, right? Like,
there's no other. It is contract value and production. That is how trades are done.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I get it. Like, it's one of those things where it just kind of sucks all around, right? Like you said, like, I mean, we met Eli, super cool dude, and he's a really talented player. And like, we all obviously want to see him do well in New York, but I get it. I kind of get it from his point of view of like, if I'm not going to be utilized, then like, get me out of here where I can be utilized. And
that's not how the world works. I get it too.
I know. How the world works. Right. It's just kind of a shitty situation. And the way, I think the most shitty part was the way it publicly blew up. Like, this is kind of one of those things where you can handle it somewhat in-house, but to blow up with the trade request is just kind of just like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah, and we say all that to say he's back now, so it's fine. I'm interested to hear from him. I'm interested to hear if he ever speaks to the media. I'm sure he will have to at some point. I would imagine they make him available this week and just try to get it out of the way, because this coach is definitely not one of the guys who likes to keep these stories dangling around. He said today he doesn't want to do the receipts thing anymore. Like, he feels bad that he said it. He regrets it, all that stuff, which is just another example of like why he's such a good guy and clearly a good coach. He's like, yeah, I was out of character. I was upset and I said the wrong thing, even though it was like the coolest thing he's ever said, probably. I would hope and not expect. I would hope that he just gets in front of the media and just, says what he needs to say, whether he believes it or not, and just tries to kill the story, because it's just not worth it. And like we say, this coach and the staff in general definitely has the team bought in, but it's hard to ignore that stuff when you're going to get asked about it, when the quarterback's getting asked about it every day, and the other wide receivers, and it's just not worth the trouble. So I hope it gets squashed soon. I'm glad to see that he's back. I'm glad that he'll be playing this Sunday, and I would expect that he gets some manufactured touches just to make him happy, which is the way they should. They should be using him more. Like, I was saying it from the first 3 weeks of the season. It's like they're just not putting him in positions to win. He needs some more slot. And I saw a stat today about how, obviously, now that he wasn't playing at all, they pretty much moved Garrett to the outside last week. So I'd be interested to see if they can keep him on the outside with Corey Davis probably out this week, Garrett on the outside, Alijah on the inside. Hopefully you get more advantageous positions for number 8.
Eli Moore first
Hopefully
touchdown
it's just
is going to be about plus 2,000, and I'm a storyline guy, and I love that bet. I'm putting it in $10 on it.
100%.
So,
hopefully it's not similar to when the Jets got Percy Harvin, and then like the first like 4 throws went to Percy, and 3 of them were interceptions that game.
Listen, well,
that was an Idzik move for fan appeasement. To be honest.
we can or cannot spend a lot of time on the quarterback today.
It is what it is, right? Like we can, it's the same thing every week. We just want to see. We want to see more.
Well, it is what it is, Greg. But like also, not to say it's gotten progressively worse since he's gotten back, but he clearly looked a little rattled on Sunday. And this is going to be a game where he needs to be more involved. They're not going to be able to run the ball down Denver's throat, down New England's throats every single play. The offensive line is a carousel right now, like we were saying, and you got one of the best pass rushers in the NFL coming down, breathing down your neck. Like, you're going to have to make some plays in this game. You heard what I said there. And I'm over it. I'm moving on.
I won't keep it out. I'm leaving it in.
No, you should leave it in 100%. I caught myself halfway through it.
You were so close.
Credit to you.
So close.
Credit to you.
That was a good save.
It was a great save.
I'm leaving that in.
Great.
But anyway, when you got
That's
a guy like him,
move.
I know what I'm doing. When you got a guy like him who's going to be making a lot of plays in the game, Zach Wilson needs to deliver this week. Elijah Moore is back. Garrett Wilson hasn't had a lot of production in a couple weeks. Mike Carter's going to be really more involved in the passing game. This is a big week for Zach. I know you keep trying to kick the can down the road, and you were focused on Sauce Gardner's tackling technique on Sunday.
Okay, no.
But it's important. I'm not done yet. But it's important that the quarterback deliver this Sunday.
Peel back the curtain a little bit. So apparently I am just not allowed to say anything about Jets games ever.
Nope.
If it doesn't pertain to 2.
It's not what
it doesn't pertain to 2. What do you
mean?
You
I said it doesn't look good today, and your next text was Sauce Gardner's tackling technique needs to get worked on or something to that effect.
So
I'm really worried about Sauce's tackling technique.
Yeah. That's a valid concern. Is it not? Would I put it high up on the list of concerns? No. But I would say it's a legitimate concern.
Can you promise me that you will be objective about the quarterback's performance this Sunday, that there's no reason he can't perform?
Yeah, I mean, I do think the play calling has to be a little bit better too. Like, we can't, for some reason, I just don't understand why. Like, Denver was getting pressure all like the first half, and they're still running these like bootleg plays where they're just letting free rushers go, and it's just like what the fuck? Like, and then you watch a team like Chicago, right? Like, they obviously don't have the personnel at all, and like they're getting guys open and shit. And obviously, like, yeah, I know. I'm not saying it's all on the play calling, but like, can we put my guy in a little bit more of an advantageous situation? Do we have to have him roll left when it's very clear that it's not worked a single time this year? Like, I think we talked about it either in our text or last week. Like, get him on some rollouts, preferably not to the left side. Yeah. Exactly. Like, do stuff like that. If the offensive line is banged up, you don't have the running game. Like, it's not illegal to call like a couple routes that are within like 5 to 15 yards. Not everything has to be, a deep 15+ yard route. Like, it's been a problem since week 1 with the offensive line. And obviously Flacco was in there. He's a statue, but like, if they're going to keep getting pressure, you can't keep doing these long developing routes out there. Like, it's got to be quick. And then once the defense, once they get tired or, they adjust, then that's when you can maybe do a little bit more deeper developing routes. But I mean, the offense is just it's really frustrating. And I think it's a big one for LaFleur too, like Zach and LaFleur. Like, hey, we need you guys to cook something up this huge game. You don't have your best offensive player, your 2 best offensive players. Like, figure it out.
Well, you said just kick that part off, that you don't think this is going to be a game where the Jets are going to be able to run the ball and then something down their throats. But 45, the Bears ran the ball 45 times for 243 yards and 2 touchdowns against them on Monday night, and they're coming off a short rest. Why can't we just do that? Like, why can't we just have the game plan be what we've been doing well? Run the ball down their throat. I know we don't have Breece. That's fine. We have Michael Carter and James Robinson.
Well, that's a pretty big part.
Every bit. Michael Carter and James Robinson is every bit as good to me as Herbert and Montgomery, right? Like, we can't do that.
Fine. But this is Robinson's first week. Justin Fields is a different factor as compared to Zach Wilson. Like there's pieces to the puzzle there that obviously Chicago was able to exploit, but I don't disagree with you. Like we should be able to move the ball down the field against this team. I don't know which way it is. And that also brings me to my next point of, I think it's an interesting week to find out what they really think about Zach, because they're either going to put him into a box and they're going to just try to win, which I'm not mad at. I want to win games. But if that's what they're going to do, we can't fuck around when the season's over.
It's not sustainable.
It's not a sustainable model, and you need to address that immediately if that's what they're going to do. Or you can say, hey, kid, go figure it out. Go win a football game. And I would love nothing more than for Zach to go 21 of 27 for 285 yards and 2 touchdowns on Sunday. Nothing would make me happier.
Right. And you have to, too, like, get him in some sort of rhythm. Like, you can't just keep running, and then, like, hey, Zach, go get us on a 3rd and 8.
Yeah, right? 3rd and 7, don't just roll Zach out and expect him to make a 25-yard completion. It's not going to work.
Right. And it was very clear they wanted him to do that in the Denver game with the 3 straight passes on the first drive. But, I mean, it's just typical Jets fashion. Like, if it doesn't work one time, all right, we can never do that ever again. You know, like –
partially, bro, but, like, on Sunday he was also sailing passes, and that continued in the first quarter.
And I'm not just talking about that game in particular. I'm just talking in general. Like, if something doesn't work, they typically just go away from it and never come back to it. Mm-hmm. And – you know, I would like to see Sunday them try to get him in some sort of, like, instead of when he's missed his last 7 passes and they finally throw like a little screen pass, maybe let's start out with a couple of those. Like, get him feeling kind of good and then see how he's doing. Let's open it up a little bit more.
My ideal first play on Sunday is you have Robinson and Carter, and then you just throw and you drop back, immediate screen to Eli, and just let Eli go do something. Yeah. Gets everybody involved, gets everybody settled in. You got to you're 100% right. You have to give Zach confidence throws, which I'm annoyed. I know what confidence throws means.
It's a young QB thing. Yeah.
We all know what that means, and that's fine if we're going to push him along that way, but then you have to commit to it. Like, you can't be, let's run 3-yard outs and posts and then run the ball twice and then punt. Like, that's not going to work. You need to either integrate him into the game plan aggressively or just take it away. I don't care if you take it away. It doesn't bother me. I just want to win.
Luke, can I ask you a question? Let's say they run that exact play that you just called for, the screen pass to Eli, and he breaks it for a 75-yard touchdown on the first play of the game. Yeah. And the person and the Jets fan that's standing next to you and the Jets fan that's standing on the other side of you stand up and boo him because they still are angry.
It'll never happen.
The way he acted. There are people on Twitter that are saying that they're going to boo him if he scores a touchdown.
If you're that person, look me in the eyes. Look me in the eyes. If you're that person who said that today or this past week, you're an idiot. You're stupid. You want the team to succeed just like I do. I don't care how they get there. Elijah Moore is back. He's the 2nd-round draft pick of this team. He's a very important piece of this team. He's back now. Whether he apologizes or not, whether you feel what he did was wrong or right, it doesn't matter. They just need to win. Nothing else matters.
I just wanted to get that point across, and I'm happy you said it. Your thoughts are exactly.
There's nothing else that matters. Like,
it drives me crazy. People on Twitter
yourself down.
Up his mentions like "welcome back," and talking shit to him on Twitter. It's like, stop it. Go do something productive. Like, what are you doing with your life? Yeah, that's what you do.
Again, if you're a Jets fan and you are not welcoming Elijah Moore back to the team this week, you're lost, and you're always going to be lost, and that's okay. You will never be happy with what happens with this team going forward. That's just fine. It is what it is. That's how I feel about those fans, because those are the same fans that have been around for 20 years. Those are the fans that complain about everything no matter what. They're the ones that complain about Zach Wilson too much. They're the ones that don't like the defensive line rotation, and they just find a way to complain about anything all the time. I have no energy for those people anymore. Elijah's back. Get over it.
Right. Jets are 5-2, and they spent the last 36 hours on Twitter just complaining about Zach Wilson's incompletions. Like, who fucking cares? They're 5-2. Move on. Move on.
My only perspective is on the Zach thing, just to bring it back to what we were talking about. My only perspective is I want to win. They need to commit to a plan one way or the other. One has more long consequences than the other, I think. Yeah. So I think once you take the ball away from Zach in a game like this, then it's really hard to give it back to him in any other game the rest of the year. So it's an important week, and I'm excited about it. I really.
And I think the rest of the year is, I think you kind of changed the scope of how you look at the QB, because I don't think we expected us to be 5-2, and if it's very clear that if they're like, they end up 8-9, right, or they just miss out on the playoffs.
Oh my god! If they finish 8-9, I just heard that and I was like, wow, that sounds like a
But if it's something like that and it's very clear, then it's like, yeah, like, okay, then like move on. You know, the trajectory of this team has changed, and that means the way you look at the QB has changed as well.
Yeah,
100%.
That means you went 3-7 the rest of the way with the Bears, Lions, like really
Jags, Dolphins
exactly.
again.
You gotta beat the Pats once. That's 4 wins right there. If you just handle business against the worst teams on your schedule. I mean, come on.
And I
get about here.
Like, I get it, second year, missed the whole preseason, but like, again, the way that this season has gone, it's put up or shut up time.
Yeah, and it's also the thing. Again, I use you as like the patsy for the whole fan of that is like the forgiving of Zach thing, but I'm taking that away from you. Like he's only in his 18th start, or like he's only in his 17th game. At some point that goes away. That's like when people
Sam Darnold was 22 for 4 years.
Right. Yeah. Like it's just like eventually he's back from the injury. He's been playing for 4 weeks. He either is going to be who we want him to be or he's not. And that's the bottom line. And we're speaking in generalities, but it's very clear. Right. Like he either needs to succeed this week and have real numbers and real production, or we need to like really quickly wash our hands of the situation because it can get ugly fast.
Yeah. And I mean, he's going to be the QB through the rest of the year. You cannot go back to Flacco.
No shot. And I'm also like rooting for him, and I think he can do it. Like if they would just give him the keys, I am like, you can do it.
That's the whole thing too, right? Like at the root of it, like, yeah, I was big on Zach in college, and I liked him coming out. I also want to see him win football games for my favorite football team. That's the thing I care about most.
And I want him to play well because this is not
the future Hall of Famer.
Just what we're doing right now is not a formula that you can replicate year over year.
No.
Teams try to do it, but this is not what you can do every year. You need to have top 12 quarterback play to be a real team in the NFL.
It's
and
not
that's
2010 anymore. Like
you need very good quarterback play to succeed in the NFL. And if he's not going to be able to do it, then that's okay. I understand, but they need to hand him the keys. Mike needs to give it over. They need to trust him, trust Garrett, trust Alijah. He can do it if you put him in the right positions. Because you're right, the play calling has been suspect, and it's a little bit wishy-washy, which I understand because of all the things we've said so far. But they just need to commit.
Agreed. Like that's what it all boils down to. Like you were saying, they put him in some sort of box last week where a lot of the things were at or behind the line of scrimmage, and it was kind of, guys, go make a play. Like they didn't really try to make a lot of throws down the field, hardly at all. Yeah, get him out there, get him in a rhythm early, and see what he's got. You know, like getting him into a rhythm is a super sustainable thing. You can do that quite literally every single week.
Yep.
So,
how do we feel? Anything else on your mind? I know we want to do score predictions. I'll be there Sunday. Jay and Greg, you guys will not. Interesting to see who the real fans are. What?
I'll be at the Buffalo game following.
You will be at the Buffalo game. Anything else on your mind right now heading into this game?
Fire up to make.
Gotta win. Gotta win. Man. That's it. It's really all I can.
Dude, it's great. Isn't it awesome? Like, to go back to the James Robinson thing, just to wake up or not wake up, but like I was laying on the couch one night and it was like, holy shit, they traded for James Robinson. They're trying to win.
Yeah.
They can do this. Like this team, like we watched Monday night and she thinks it was a different stage of a different type of defense than they're used to playing. So, but I would watch that game on Monday night and I'm like, we can rip this team apart. Like these are things that we do well. Zach's not Justin Fields from a speed standpoint, but like he can get out there and make a play. They can run the RPO together. Like I feel really good about our chances on offense this week.
And the thing we mentioned in the Bree interview, we went into more in depth to the blowout last year is still a very real thing to a lot of players on this team and the coaching staff.
Definitely.
It has not 100%.
And they're not going to forget. And I think if we have the opportunity, which I think we do, I think we're a lot better than these guys. I think we're going to run it up on them. If we have the opportunity, this could all go a different direction. And like we said in the interview, like Mac comes alive. They figure out the offense. It's a tough game, blah, blah, blah. I think they're a mess. I think they're going to be a mess. This is we've seen this story 100 times. Just because it's Bill Belichick doesn't mean we need to like change the rules. It's very clear what's happening. They have a serious quarterback issue. They don't know which guy they want to go with. That makes both guys unhappy. It makes the team unhappy, and they don't play well. So we should be able to kill this team on Sunday.
They can't run. They're not going to be able to pass on us.
Nope.
And their defense is dog shit. And so I'm going to give you my prediction first. 35-3 Jets. It's going to be a blowout.
It's a great prediction.
I'm not even trying to sound like I'm being cocky. Like Denver's defense was incredible, and we still got 16 on them, and they're nowhere near
And we did nothing on offense after Breece went out.
They're nowhere near as good on defense. So I'm going to double the points basically. I'm saying 35-3. I don't think that the Patriots are going to be able to score on us.
Greg,
I do think
your prediction and your big play.
I do think it'll be a little bit closer. I did see some things in the Denver game where they were doing a lot underneath and just putting guys in space. So I think that's an area that New England can attack us. I don't think they're going to be able to attack us downfield at all. I also need to see the Jets cover some tight ends before I feel confident because I haven't seen them do it ever. But I think it'll be 24-10. Big play. I think Uzama scores a touchdown.
There you go.
I'm going to go on Uzama touchdown. Okay. Little red zone action. You keep kind of similar to that Green Bay play. You keep him in as a blocker. You just look kind of flare. Like they do with the offensive tackles all the time. You know, how they always score. It's like they're in and then they leak out a little bit. I think that's how it's going to happen.
Interesting. Like on the goal line.
Yeah, if it's like, you know, in between the 5 and the goal line. I think it's one of those things. Blocking the whole game.
I like that.
Maybe might be a little close later on, and then they just leak him out and he scores a touchdown.
I like that a lot. So I'm of two minds on this game. Like I said, I'm very worried that Bill Belichick saw us get dominated by the no huddle and was like, if I can't put something together that can do this to the Jets, then I should retire today. So that makes me very nervous. But I truly believe they are in such disarray at the quarterback position that it won't matter. And I think that this game is 27-10. Like that seems like the kind of game that we're walking into here. I think that we can just beat them up. And I do think we end up going into a box. I just think that's how this coaching staff thinks. They want to win games. So, and that's fine. I really, like I said, I don't mind. We don't need to go back down that rabbit hole, but 27-10 Jets final. And I'm going to go with it. I'm going to predict a explosive Elijah Moore touchdown early in the game that just sends the stadium.
Boost.
That sends this. No, the stadium's going to go into disarray. The stadium's going to explode if that happens.
I think I could see like 20% of Jet fans actually
will get drowned out by the screams.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me ask you another question. If they're crazy enough to introduce the offense instead of the defense out of the tunnel, do they boo the shit out of him as he runs out of the tunnel?
Probably.
They would, which is it's a defense day anyway, so it doesn't matter. I don't think they would put him in that position.
No.
Right. You'd think they would avoid that at all costs.
100%. There's just no. It's not an off. Like it doesn't matter. Like it is a defense day, so it doesn't matter. But I don't think there's just no reason to put him in that position. You know,
right.
All they're trying to do is just build his confidence, which they will build. They are going to feed him early, 100%. They need him now the rest of the year. They need him happy. They need him involved. They're gonna feed him early.
And
we beat the Dolphins. We beat the Dolphins 40-17 at home, and the Patriots are a fraction of. I was way more concerned about the Dolphins than I was about the Patriots. And dude, the Dolphins, look at the Dolphins' weapons. They had Waddle, they had Hill, they had Mostert that ran for $120, and we still kicked the shit out of them.
Yeah, I was gonna say
match that.
I was gonna say it was Skylar Thompson, but like we're talking about Bailey Zappi and Mac Jones.
What are you talking about? Yeah, this is the same shit.
Yeah, they should not be able to move the ball on us. I think the only way that they're going to be able to score is like off of turnovers on offense,
right.
That we commit on offense, you know? So
that's the only way the Patriots win is somehow their defense is able to shut down our offense. The only way they could win this game is if it's like a 13-7 game or something.
Can't beat yourself.
It's the only way. And 7 of those points come on like a pick six or a strip sack or something. It's stupid.
The only way that they win, the only way that they can win the game is if Zach just makes too many mistakes and we commit too many turnovers. That's the only way, because they're not going to score a lot. So the only way is if we can't do anything on offense, they force a couple turnovers and they win the game. But I don't think we're going to do that. That's just not who we are as a team. I don't want to keep going around in circles. I feel great. I feel very confident in this team. I'm happy to have Alijah back. I'm happy we have James Robinson. I'm ready to fucking roll. We're going to kill the Patriots.
We are confident, the three of us, that we're going to beat the fucking Patriots at home for the first time.
Beat the shit
right now.
All right. And with that, that was another episode of Just Enough to Suffer. The boys are ready. We're ready to roll. We'll see everyone Sunday night, hopefully, for a victory podcast.
Yes.
That'll be all. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Jay. Thank you for listening. Peace and love.
Go Jets.